All right. And if we're all okay with just organic jumping in, does anyone want to take stage directions and we'll go from there?
I can do stage directions this time.
Thanks, Ksenia.
Okay, the pageant. Most of us know deep in our bones that we have to protect the earth, but you know what? I'm going to stop because I don't know whether is it Gaia or Gaia, since I feel like that's going to come up a lot.
I think it's Gaia.
Okay, that's what we'll do for now. Thank you. Most of us know deep in our bones that we have to protect the earth, but what stops us is the hard work that must be put into the effort. Then there are the fear tactics used by certain politicians who say that climate change activists just want to take away your ice cream and your cars, forcing people to ride around in high-speed trains powered by unicorn tears. But suppose we get to a place where everyone finally agrees to make change and it happens, and it's successful. Imagine a future where we save the earth. That's where this play came from, a future where environmental justice wins. The future, Gaia and Gaiette gather to plan the annual pageant.
I'm just saying that we've done it the same way for 50 years, so could we please be a little more original this time?
Fine, be original, but you can't mess with the parts that people love.
It's not about whether they love it, it's about whether it's right.
Gaia Lee rushes in, impatient.
Hey, hi, sorry, late. I've only got a half hour, so could we?
We don't have a quorum.
We're not going to get a quorum. The last time we had a quorum, we voted to not bother to have a quorum ever again.
No one wants to come to these meetings. Whole thing is boring.
So we'll fix it.
How? You want to take out the part that is the most fun.
Start the damned meeting.
Gaiette gives up and pounds the gavel.
Whatever. Oh, earth, oh, moon, oh, sun, gather we all.
We are gathered.
Today, we come to you humbly on this,
Could we skip the official mumble stuff and just get to the business at hand?
The 145th day of the 56th year of the new green world order.
Say the old-fashioned date too.
Why?
I just think it's nice and ceremonial.
Now I have to calculate, okay, we are gathered this 145th day, May 26th of the old era year, the year 2091, to plan our annual pageant of the new green planet and civic solar responsibility light show. Who's reading the agenda?
We all read it before we got here. Get down to business.
Fine, I move we retire the unicorn tears segment.
No.
It's not truthful, and we're giving kids the wrong idea.
Kids love that part.
Yeah, just like they love the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus, but it gives them a false sense of...
Can't they have some fun? Can't they be kids for a while and not pay attention to dire predictions or worry about...
History has shown us what happens when we don't pay attention to the signs of...
Oh my God, do you never have a moment when you just chill?
I'm just saying, the pageant needs to be meaningful. So remember everyone how we got here. All the changes in human behavior, it was not easy.
That part was especially not easy.
So to include sections where everybody was given the mission to collect unicorn tears so that the high-speed pollution-free trains could be on time, that's misleading.
That part is so beautiful. When the tiny children wear their twinkly flowy robes and go up to the adults in the audience with little solar. Sorry. When the tiny children wear their twinkly flowy robes and go up to the adults in the audience with little solar battery powered sparkle lights and say, "Are you the unicorn? Do you have any tears for me? Do you have any tears for the future?" And then they sing that beautiful song in 15-part harmony. There's usually not a dry eye in the house.
Yes, all those tears which the kids collect in their little star power jars.
so that we don't have to burn fossil fuels and so that the Earth's air quality will be pristine and everything is run on renewable energy.
Stop, stop, stop. That's not what happened. So why do we want kids to think that it did?
Well, you gotta inspire them.
As if reciting of the honors of the elders is not inspiring.
Oh my God, no one wants to sit there and listen to the 125-year-old from San Pedro, California, drone on about the old days when she would have asthma attacks from the idling trucks at the port, and then miraculously her asthma was cured when electric vehicles were.
Or the 132-year-old who claims he worked in a coal mine.
No, that was his grandfather. He never worked in a coal mine. His family left Kentucky when he was 3. That's why he's still alive.
I think they all take supplements. Imagine living longer than 115.
It's inspiring. And we have to do the Earth You Love creed as a pledge to always remember that the important.
I love doing the creed. Oh, Earth, I believe in sustaining you with my efforts. And if I should ever for a second forget the dates of your liberation, starting with May, I don't say it much anymore. I have to look up the dates.
Oh my God, you don't know? April 1st, 2031, the day of the last piece of coal. July 5th, 2033, the day that every person on this planet had access to clean water. January 1st, 2035, the day we converted to the new calendar and the new green world order.
So many numbers. It's hard to remember and boring. And then there's the starvation diary.
Such a downer. Why do I always have to be the one who has to perform that every year?
It's a reminder of the time when we only saw some people had enough to eat.
That's why we need the unicorn tears section, because the rest of this is so depressing.
Oh, wake up. The unicorn tears thing was such a joke. It was a sneering, smart aleck remark made by some climate change denier politician. The early pageant organizers put it in because it was supposed to be satire.
But the children
don't get satire. The children need to know how everyone on this planet pulled together, how nations, even nations that hated each other, and people, young, old, rich, poor, finally were at a place where they had no choice but to agree and to make changes in their lives.
Well, in all honesty, most of them were near death.
But they finally did, and we created a new green order for the new green planet. And lo and behold, people actually got jobs creating new green earth, and people were no longer stuck with toxic waste dumps in their neighborhoods or food deserts or skies full of smog. People started to trust, and it has worked. And everyone has to be involved, and that's hard to do, and everyone involved. But they did. They pitched in, and now here we are in an Earth that survived and a planet that's not dying anymore. So we celebrate that with a pageant. We celebrate that. The effort, not the fantasy.
Can't we keep the unicorn tears part and the song just as a little, fun part, which we can label fun and say over and over again, this is not real.
That ruins it for the kids.
And just pass out a little flyer that has all the boring stuff.
And who exactly is going to read the flyer? They all just going to sing the unicorn tears song and forget everything else.
Yeah, I guess. Damn, I hate when you're right.
Oh, not you too.
We have to perform the boring stuff. We just do.
I just love the little unicorn song so much.
I know, I do too. But it's time to make sure that the children know the truth about how we got here.
And it wasn't magic.
No, it wasn't. I know. Okay. So who's going to contact the old folks for the reciting of the honors of the elders?
And why don't they come to these damn meetings?
Oh, sweetie, they already paid their dues.
The guys get to work. Lights fade. End of play.
Interesting. I think that the like choice of the names of Gaia and Gaiet and Gaia Lee, like I wonder if those are meant to be just like the popular names of the time. Like my brain immediately cast them as like ethereal, like magical beings just because of like the names. But you know, maybe they are just living in that like earth cherishing world where Gaia Lee is like what you name your kid.
Gaia is some kind of classical mother nature something, right? I don't.
Yeah, Greek mythology, she's like the earth is Gaia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might be good to just like sort of read a definition, but there's a couple things like the Greek mythology, the personification of the Urk, and one of the Greek primordial deities, the ancestral mother of all life. But then there's sort of the Gaia theory that proposes that all living organisms interact with their inorganic surroundings on the earth to form a synergistic and self-regulating complex system, essentially just like the interconnected earth that perpetuates life or conditions for life. So yeah, interesting. Is it interesting like piece to get the drama of like the character I was reading, Gaiet, like just really wanting to forget about the like fight for climate justice.
So the unicorn tears is, I didn't know this, maybe everyone else knew this, but that's something that a politician really said. Upset about an ambitious environmental resolution introduced by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And so he was saying that it was going to confiscate every privately owned vehicle in America within a decade and ban air travel so we can all drive or ride around on high-speed light rail supposedly powered by unicorn tears. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a hard reality because it's so many like this imagined future, like we're past a world where like there's satire around this like powered by unicorn tears, but we're still kind of living in a time when people position like a climate just future where we're not like struggling to save the planet as like a fantasy. So yeah, this fantasy is interesting because it kind of like the thing that I took away from it was, well, one of the things I took away from it was that like how our memory is really short and how there's like this effort to like remember the past and like learn from the past, but like it seems like human nature is just like dying to forget and not take past lessons into the future.
I'm interested in the idea that this is a pageant, because normally when I think of pageant, I kind of think like third grade, right? Like little kids presenting something. But I'm wondering with the way they say the elders are coming in to talk and stuff like that, it almost seems like it could have a Remembrance Day style effect attached to it, which puts it in a different light for me in the kind of the mood of this meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One thing that I like took from it was that, like what you were saying about like ethereal beings, I got like alien vibes. So like in a different world, like star powered jars and like the unicorn tears. But like all of it's based off like the Green New Deal, which is all stuff that we have and we're talking about now. But that the future for me was like this fantastical world where it's almost like unachievable. Do you know what I'm trying to say? That like the Green New Deal is something that we talk about now, But when I was reading what it is in the future, it was almost like this can't really exist now with the way people talk about things. So it was almost like for me, I had to remind myself that what we're talking about is stuff that we're talking about now. And that we are the people like who could be the elders in this play. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, completely.
I'm so curious about who they are, which is like so open to interpretation, but I'm like, are they like moms at the PTA? Like where do they fit in? There's just, I think, a lot of fun things to riff on, depending what direction you want to take it.
Yeah, design wise, I don't even know where I would begin with this one, because I'm still just like, I guess I'm trying to figure out the drama as well. Like, who are they? It could be like three moms like trying to plan the school, whatever the celebration is, Earth Day pageant or the Gaia pageant. And then is it just about like, how do we maintain these values and how do we maintain like reverence for the planet? But also there's a gavel. So it's like there's like a court of like earth protectors. So that's like, maybe it's like the political system. Maybe that's like a Supreme Court type thing where it's like these are the top priorities of the political class. So that could be like an interesting fantasy to engage in.
I take from it, or one of the things, that even though they have their liberation and they have the dates of that liberation, they're very dismissive of these elders who were probably the ones that made this liberation and the Green Deal happen. I mean, they're in given those dates of 2031 and 2033 and 2035, and now they're in 2091, right? So I think in spite of the liberation, there's discontent and they're not really happy and they're not honoring the work that was done before them that now benefits them. I have no idea if that's in any way what this is about.
Yeah, I mean, I took that as well to be like, it's almost like a critique of like human nature. That's why I was saying like they're so quick to forget, or they're so quick to just like, they're just so busy with the present that like not everyone can like have that perspective. So like, yeah, the character just like continuing to forget the dates, and like also the significance of the dates, and like, yeah, making it all about the children having a pageant, exactly, as opposed to like what it actually is. I think that is an interesting parallel with Remembrance Day, because like like when I was young and we would do annual Remembrance Day pageants, or not even pageants, but like events in my elementary school, they were pretty abstract for me as a child. I don't think I really understood what they meant, except, we wear our poppies and we remember the people, and like war as a quite abstract concept, and like not quite knowing what that meant, or and yeah, like the symbols of it becoming the thing that was like passed down more than like the actual knowledge and wisdom and learning and history. Though there is something really quite hopeful to this play when the Gaia character starts rattling off all these dates of like huge landmarks that like are like us here and now just like are longing for. Like that was like a really, really powerful segment to like just have someone like recall those with like ferocity and like guys, remember we did this, and like it was really hard, but like just felt like somehow like that was like a really hopeful, like inspiring section to think that like I don't know, to imagine that it actually happens, and then obviously the added complication of something having to defend remembering it, like it's just something we take for granted. Yeah, interesting. Shall we move on to the next play? I feel like this one is it's dense, but it could be done really simply, but I'm not like, oh, just like dying to jam on design ideas right now. I'm kind of like, I don't know. Let's move on. Let's keep rolling.
I think I'm gonna head out now, so I will say bye and I'll watch the rest of the recording. But have a good night, everybody.
Bye, Ksenia.
Bye. Or day for those of you that it's day for.
Awesome. So the next play we're going to read is Dream/Remember by Hanna Cormick. And I'll jump in with the stage directions. Though it sort of seems like this piece is doesn't have character. So maybe we can just sort of jump in and take the lines like once it seems like a natural break. But I'll get us started. Okay, Dream/Remember by Hanna Cormick. When I tried to imagine a path to my ideal green justice-led future, it wasn't as easy as I anticipated. In the age of capitalism, dreaming and hope have become subversive acts. The status quo is adept at clipping the wings of dreams and squashing fantasies, making it hard for us to imagine the tangible path between where we are and where we want to get to. But there are fragments we do know, ideas that ignite our heart or fill us with unexpected hope, clues from the past, from earlier decades, or centuries' ways of living, or indigenous ways of living, new systems we are starting to integrate, or fundamental values that we want to live by. Maybe this time is a bit fluid, and there are lots of clues to what we are yearning for, hiding inside our bodies, our unvoiced wishes, our ancestral sensations that can be remembered, reaching beyond what we already know to touch the things that lie just outside the edges of our imaginative map. I want to create a ritual to allow sacred space for that dreaming/remembering and to feel the potency of imagining and moving forward into unknown territories as a collective act. Our participatory ritual of mass dreaming, a guided visualization, a choreography, a story, or any of the things in between. Performance notes for one or many performers. Lie down and lead a guided visualization. Make it a podcast, make it a dance track, or dance it as a choreographic score, or dream it, or perform it like a play, or read it as a bedtime story. Go do it for real. Step into a lake or ocean water or a field or the imagined lake of a stage. This is a flexible script. Attribute text how you wish amongst one or many. Let the text of dreaming, remembering flow, overlapping one another if you wish, and be free for you or the audience to add your own future memories. Let the places and references be switched for your own if you wish. Any word may be translated into first, second, or third person text. Any words may be translated into movement or image instead of spoken. If you enact this as a participatory event, ensure you build time and space for audience aftercare, a space to safely return and dry off if necessary, maybe share experiences or connect, or to sit and reflect.
We have come, gathered at the side of the lake, and my toes are sinking into the coffee black sludge. It's cold and thick. It stains our skin in tiny speckles up our calves, itching with small insects. holding each other's hands or wherever we hold each other with whatever we hold with. I think the line stretches around the whole 4-kilometer perimeter, a full circle. Elsewhere, other gatherings dip their feet in the scratch of sand before the curling lip and salt tang of waves, or pebbles that push into the muscles of your souls, with insistence and enduring grace, or jagged edges that spur you step into the water.
The whole planet over, we gather, just like us who encircle this lake, to enact a ritual of dreaming, no, remembering forward to what has not yet happened. A tender tightening against my palm. We have begun.
The very edge of the water was sharp, as an intake of breath, and the thick silk caresses our toes as it knots off under the lapping. Water's tongue, water that gripped around the ankle, pulling gently because we lingered still in the shallow. No one leading each other, led by the lake. So many of us, side by side. The submerged part of your body is gliding slow into sinking, and the other part of you still rising upwards in this world of above. Listening for the tinsel rustle and chimes of the birch leaves quivering in a channel of wind, trying to catch the half whispers, attuning to the language you had forgotten, you had never yet learned, but which that dreaming part of you still half almost remembers.
Don't you feel that? Like something, maybe not your own memory, maybe something older. I don't know how to name it. The language was stolen, but I feel it. You do too. We feel it in the way the old order didn't fit and our spirits twitched and struggled against it. We recognize when the thought approaches it and tears and laughter suddenly spill into your mouth out of nowhere. We sense it like something glimpsed by the back of your head, whispered from behind the curve of your ear. Together, dreaming back or remembering forward.
At the edge of history, outside the border of imagination, the slip of a fish through your hand in the water, quick and gone. Listen, 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 step deeper. I chose this lake because it is from my homeland, by the farmhouse in the forest on the land where I was born. I chose this lake because I was thinking of learning what wild things are carried in my blood that are not disease, but memory and ritual. To remember the scent of pine needles and the taste of birch tree flesh, the sweet blood of cloudberries, the comfort of the color of snow at the blue hour. I'm thinking of growing out my roots. I'm thinking of letting the other roots reach in through my walls, opening cracks through which to connect.
Knee deep in the water, I try to shuffle off my fear of cliche, with some half joke about middle-aged bourgeois woman reconnecting with ancestry, a young Noongar woman to my right in the circle, and a calmness that lands so gently that cuts right through the clamor of my shame, says, that's the colonizer's narrative. My embarrassment doesn't disappear, but it falls back like an echo on the shoreline, except that on the way to where we are going, I will appear foolish, that as someone with colonizer's blood mingled in my veins, there's no graceful way out of this place. Go through the mud, you will slip and fall, accept the dirt on your face. Some might be graceful, but not you. But keep going, stepping forwards, stepping with whatever you step with.
Because some of us in the circle don't walk, and I don't walk well or far. I leave my wheelchair at the edge of the lake, not because I don't still need it. There is no miracle story here, except the miracle that my body is as welcome in this lake as any other body, that my crutches help lift me in the water, and when they cease to, that I am supported by the multi-tangles of arms of people around me and the lake itself, that we all together, and with the lake too, support any body, however, it needs to be supported. And holding each other up doesn't feel heavy at all. It feels like an embrace, because there is no way to be in the lake except to be in it together. We go deeper. The shock of the water surprises sounds out of our mouths. We start to remember. Oh, we forget to forget.
Snippets of memory dreams jumping into the air. You say your granddaughter has gone to study earth advocacy. You say the glyphosate reparations built organic gardens for each village in how the boots of your lover tread dust from the solar farm through the house. There's a moment where I think about turning back. I wonder if other people linger on the shore or didn't come out here into the middle of the forest to walk into a cold lake with no purpose. Except what? That's the colonizer's narrative. That hope must be piecemeal, small, achievable, and fully laid out as a plan before you embark. Keep stepping forwards.
The cold is lifting our voices out of us unexpectedly at our hips. The woman next to me starts laughing hysterically from the cold water. In between shrieks of laughter, she starts to spill out words about how she'd always wanted to keep bees, how she now tended to hives built in her apartment complex garden, free housing pods built during the climate refugee reform that sat near a ring of blossoming fruit trees, and that the bees would dance around each morning. And in spring, she'd sit with her coffee, watching the slow dance of them visiting the flowers, dipping heads up to their waists in yellow pollen dust. And in summer, the hot smell of fruit in the evening would be full in the air. As small children climbed and clung to the branches, throwing small fruit down to each other as they taught each other words from their own languages for the sweet tasting gifts, exchanging taste and tongue. A whisper ripples down the line. A child over on the eastern flank of the circle has begun talking about universal basic services and the demonetization of labor. A man to the west is remembering the patients' strike, where he and other nurses and unwaged carers helped barricade city intersections, and the sick and injured stared down the unmoving cars. Someone remembers when their company's plastic permit was revoked. There's a secret bubbling to the south about the Robin Hood Rebellion and the billionaire bosses, bankers, and oil barons whose heads were hoisted high and their accounts drained dry. Someone remembers the rewilding of Berlin and the surprise glimpses of the plants and predators that reclaimed the de-asphalted streets. And land returned and reparations running swift alongside the language reclamation when we scrubbed the scars off our maps and gave the old names back to the land. And then we slowed down because progress doesn't mean speed. And the wind blows around us quick like change, but our movement as a species through the day, we can slow all that right down.
We slowed down. We took time, we gave time, we spent our attention, our care. We no longer counted costs using money. We no longer counted growth using money. An old woman said, I think I may be recognized. Her shawl billows up around her shoulders in the water, and she is singing the warmth of the land. To grieve what was taken, stolen, hurt, to grieve the trees empty of lichen, the snow empty of the reindeer's tree. And I didn't see those things, but I feel like they are pieces of meat carved out of my own heart. It feels like the hurt was done to me too. We all recognize the grief we feel for the earth that we have pretended was an empathy, but was really a very intimate and a personal heartbreak, a betrayal. We each felt, we each were harmed by, and reaching through the water, we place our hands on the cracks in each other's hearts, and we cry together, salt water flowing into the cold freshwater lake, because both our hope and our grief must be supported together.
And water under our noses with those petrol tasting coughs when you almost inhale. Do you remember what's beneath in the dark water under your feet? When it felt like the whole sky had been poured down into the mouth of the mountain and you lay cradled in the serene vastness. At first it seemed uncomfortable, but it's not uncomfortable, just different. We held each other and stepped forward. Trying to dream, trying to remember. You talked about the solar farm dust on your lover's boots. End of play. Wow. That was, I thought that was quite beautiful. I loved how detailed, like all these different images were. It was very, evocative, just to like hear the words. And I love that she proposes it as a shared meditation. Maybe it's just about, having an encounter with water.
Definitely has an epic quality to it. It's kind of hard to encompass. It's so huge and covers so much imagery. I'm not sure how one would even begin in terms of design, except
like what you said, like it is so huge, like, but like it's like that huge feeling is within all of us. But I could totally see this being done like, on a beach somewhere in some like really epic fashion with like a huge horizon. Like it's like a kind of scenography.
Yeah, I was imagining it like if it done as a scene taking part in a lake when it happened, because I can just imagine if there was just happened to be a big wave and all the people would make those noises that she does describe people making, it would be very effective, very relatable to everyone there.
But there is something amazing in the language that made me feel all of these like feelings of just like what it is to enter a body of water and how in a way it could be like quite profound and shocking. And like, if a body of water was not accessible, I feel like there's so much in this play that could be, you could still bring up all these feelings and memories, even if you weren't able to access like nature or be out in a real body of water. I also love the openness that the playwright has said that any line could become a choreographic piece or an image. It's just like such an open invitation into staging this. Like there's so many different ways that one could do it. there was also such a dose of reality when like I didn't place this in a time until they said something about the reformations and the Berlin, and yeah, so it is sort of an imagined future, the rewilding of Berlin. Yeah, I mean, something about that like makes me think, yeah, this whole thing could happen like in a location where it's like an overtaken something that might have been like urban that has been rewilded. Like that's like a really quite amazing image to me. Or like reclaiming like a city space as like a natural space. The de-asphalted streets.
The image of the older woman, that whole little section that I think I maybe recognize, her shawl billows up around her shoulders in the water, and she is singing the wounds of the land. It's particularly evocative, I think, in terms of visual. I can picture that, and I can also picture a lot of music in this.
This is such an interesting piece to read after the last one, because it kind of takes the same like this like really earnest desire to like reconnect with like our land and ancestry, and in a completely unironic, inviting way, and like super candid, super like just like somehow both candid and like amazingly poetic at the same time, but like not like there's like, yeah, this is like maybe the like 2030 or 2040 like mentality that like I when I'm thinking about those two plays in relation to each other, I'm like, this is like the spiritual like foundation that might lead to that type of world. And yeah, I think that the invitation into like a like really deep like exploration of like your own connection to the natural world is, yeah, that's like a really like the hugest jumping off point for me.
As a performance like point, I was very interested in the fact that the wheelchair and the crutches come up about halfway through the performance, so you don't know about this until then. And it just is, if you were to do this, would you have other people like holding her or them up right from the very beginning? Like, would that be something that would need to be choreographed? Like, because it feels it would be a disservice to the text to have someone just standing there at any point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the miracle. Isn't that a tradition of miracles? When you either in your wheelchair or your crutches, you go into the water and is it Lourdes?
That is like the,
and then
yeah, the
you're
traditional
healed.
story. Mm-hmm. That's why I find it so funny that she says there's no miracle story here. It's not because I don't need the wheelchair. It's just that I'm supported, and that whole like we together support anybody however it needs to be supported is so beautiful. But yeah, I could definitely see like, say you didn't have a real body of water to perform this in, like I could see a choreography where you could like dance the like experience of like entering into a body of water and like feeling the weightlessness like travel up your body, and to the point where it's like people physically supporting you. That could be a really fun way to approach this, like if there was no water, but like creating that weightlessness by like lifting someone and like having like a choral movement that somehow creates that like weightlessness. I think I like there's something so undeniably connecting about like water, like that this like elemental subject matter is like it hits home with absolutely everyone because it's, well, it's like, you know, what we're made of. I feel like that, like there's such power in this piece, and like how to bring water to it, like is like my big, like would be my big design question. Like I would love to do this in a body of water, in a real body of water, but if it couldn't be like bringing the feeling of water to the space, like, or like, you know, maybe giving everyone in the audience a glass of water, like to share with each other. Or using like theater magic to like create that sense of a massive body of water. I love playing with like water reflections, and like something as small as like, you know, reflections of ripples can have like such a momentous feeling. Like you could you could evoke this like large body with just like a small amount of water.
It'd be cool to have it in an immersion studio type way if you're going to go with like kind of a projection style where you're totally surrounded by these water imagery.
When you say immersion studio, do you mean like a 360 like projection, or like a planetarium?
Yeah, I meant like the projection, 360 projection, but yeah, planetarium would be super cool.
Yeah, I think we ended up talking about planetariums last week too, eh? It's so funny because I think that like that feeling of like wanting to be immersed in nature and like be inspired by the natural world is such a strong impulse, especially when like a lot of us live in urban centers. We might not have easy access to like being surrounded by nature, or if we do, it's always like with a loud like sound of planes taking off right next to you. Yeah, it's definitely an impulse that we all have been sharing. You guys, for coming up on time, but I feel like I wish that I could have been here from the beginning, because an hour just doesn't seem like long enough. But I hope that this reading was, you know, at least enjoyable or got you thinking. And I'm not sure if Alex discussed our open prompt of seed concepts at the beginning of this, and touched on the spreadsheet at all. Did we talk about that? Yeah, a little bit. Okay, great. But if any of you are feeling like lost at all and where to begin, like just, you know, let us know. And like that's what this time is for, to just like talk it out. I know that we're only able to get so far into discussions about each play and like how an ecological design might form. Like, you know, some of our ideas that we're throwing out now, I think could be seed concepts, but like we could definitely talk more, come back to ideas in future reading and discussion sessions, if anyone's just like wanting to, you know, harness the creative energy of the group. So yeah, thank you all so much for being here, and have a great rest of your day or night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you all. Bye.
Yeah.